I never imagined that an ordinary Tuesday night would change everything I thought I knew about my dog Max. After 15 years of farming this land, I'd grown accustomed to the rhythms of rural life, the early mornings, the physical demands, and the peaceful evenings that followed. That particular evening felt especially perfect. The autumn air carried the sweet scent of harvested corn, and the last rays of sunlight painted the barn walls in warm golden hues. I'd finished the day's work earlier than usual, having completed the final equipment maintenance before winter's arrival. Max, my 4-year-old yellow Labrador, had been my constant companion throughout the day. He'd followed me from the chicken coop to the equipment shed, his tail wagging as he investigated every corner of our property. His boundless energy never ceased to amaze me, even after all these years together. As darkness settled over the farm, I felt that familiar sense of satisfaction that comes from a day well spent. The tractors were secured, the animals were fed, and tomorrow's tasks were already planned. Max settled beside my chair on the porch, his breathing gradually slowing as exhaustion from the day's adventures took hold. The evening air was crisp, but not cold, perfect for sitting outside and watching the stars emerge one by one. In the distance, I could hear the gentle lowing of cattle and the soft rustle of leaves in the oak trees that bordered our property. I remember thinking how fortunate I was to live this life, surrounded by the simple beauty of the countryside. The city felt like a different world entirely, with its noise and chaos. Here, everything moved at nature's pace, and that suited me perfectly. Little did I know that within hours, Max would prove just how deeply he understood his role as protector of our little corner of the world. By midnight, the farm had settled into its familiar nocturnal rhythm. The chickens had long since roosted, and even the barn cats had found their favorite sleeping spots. Max and I had moved inside around 10 o'clock, following our usual routine. I'd spent the last hour before bed reviewing the weather forecast and planning the next day's activities. The meteorologist predicted clear skies and mild temperatures, perfect conditions for the final field preparations I'd been putting off. Max lay sprawled across his favorite spot near the kitchen door, occasionally opening one eye to check on my movements. The old farmhouse creaked gently as it settled for the night, familiar sounds that had become as comforting as a lullaby over the years. Through the bedroom window, I could see the silhouettes of the barn and equipment shed against the star-filled sky. Everything appeared exactly as it should. I'd always been a sound sleeper, a trait that served me well given the physical demands of farm life. The combination of fresh air, honest work, and rural quiet created the perfect conditions for deep, restorative rest. Max typically slept just as soundly, often not stirring until the first hints of dawn. That night felt no different as I settled into bed. The house was warm and secure, the animals were safe, and tomorrow promised to be another productive day. I remember feeling particularly grateful for the life I'd built here. Far from the complications of urban existence, the last thing I noticed before drifting off was the gentle sound of Max's breathing from downstairs, steady and peaceful. His presence had always been a source of comfort, but I had no idea how crucial that comfort would prove to be in just a few short hours. The sound that woke me wasn't loud or alarming, quite the opposite. It was a soft, persistent whimpering that seemed to float up from the kitchen below. At first, I thought I might be dreaming, but as consciousness gradually returned, I realized Max was trying to communicate something urgent. I glanced at the bedside clock, 3:17 a.m. In all our years together, Max had never woken me during the night unless something was seriously wrong. He wasn't the type of dog to bark at shadows or chase imaginary threats. His behavior had always been measured and purposeful. The whimpering continued, accompanied by what sounded like pacing. I could hear his nails clicking against the hardwood floor in an agitated rhythm that was completely unlike his usual calm demeanor. Something was definitely bothering him, and his distress was becoming increasingly apparent. I sat up in bed, listening more carefully. The sounds weren't random. They had a pattern, almost as if Max was trying to form words he couldn't speak. There was an urgency in his voice that made my chest tighten with concern. "Max?" I called softly, hoping to calm whatever was troubling him. The whimpering stopped immediately, replaced by the rapid sound of paws on stairs. Within seconds, he appeared in my doorway, his silhouette barely visible in the darkness, but I could sense his agitation even without seeing his face clearly. He didn't approach the bed as he normally would when seeking comfort. Instead, he remained in the doorway, shifting his weight from paw to paw. The message was clear. He needed me to follow him. I'd learned to trust Max's instincts over the years. Farm dogs develop an awareness of their environment that often surpasses human perception, and Max had never led me astray. I slipped out of bed and reached for the clothes I'd left draped over the chair. Max watched my every movement, his tail giving small, anxious wags that told me he was relieved I was responding to his call. As soon as I was dressed, he turned and headed back downstairs, pausing at each step to ensure I was following. The house felt different in the pre-dawn darkness. Familiar objects cast strange shadows, and the usual comforting creaks seemed more pronounced. Max moved with purpose through the kitchen, heading directly toward the back door. His behavior was unlike anything I'd witnessed before. When we reached the door, he sat and looked up at me expectantly. His eyes, barely visible in the dim light, held an intelligence that never failed to amaze me. He wasn't panicking or showing signs of fear. Instead, he displayed the focused determination of a dog with a mission. I grabbed my jacket from the hook by the door and slipped on my boots. Max remained perfectly still until I reached for the door handle. Then he stood and pressed his nose against the glass, looking out toward the yard. The night air hit my face as we stepped outside, crisp and clean with the scent of autumn leaves and distant wood smoke. At first, everything appeared normal. The familiar shapes of the barn, equipment shed and tractor were exactly where they should be. Max didn't head toward any of these usual destinations. Instead, he moved with deliberate steps toward the far side of the property, where the newer equipment shed stood near the tree line. His pace was measured but urgent, and he kept looking back to ensure I was still with him. I followed, trusting in the bond we'd built over years of working together, even though I couldn't yet understand what had captured his attention so completely. As we rounded the corner of the main barn, Max suddenly stopped and raised his head, sniffing the air with intense concentration. That's when I caught it too, the unmistakable scent of smoke, faint but definitely present in the cool night air. My heart rate immediately quickened. On the farm, fire represents one of the most serious threats imaginable. Years of stored hay, wooden structures, and fuel supplies create the perfect conditions for disaster. The smell of smoke at 3 a.m. could only mean trouble. Max had detected what my human senses had missed entirely. His superior ability to process scents had identified the danger long before I would have noticed anything amiss. He continued forward, his nose leading us toward the source of the smell. The equipment shed came into view as we crested the small hill behind the barn. At first glance, everything looked normal in the moonlight. The building stood solid and dark against the tree line, exactly as it should. But Max's behavior told a different story. He approached the shed cautiously, his body language tense with alertness. As we drew closer, I began to see what had captured his attention. Thin wisps of smoke were rising from behind the building, barely visible against the dark sky, but unmistakably real. My mind raced through the possibilities. The shed housed our newer tractor, several pieces of expensive equipment, and various supplies. More importantly, it sat close enough to the tree line that a fire could easily spread to the surrounding forest. Max had led me to a potentially catastrophic situation that I would never have discovered until morning, by which time it might have been far too late to prevent serious damage. His midnight vigilance had quite possibly saved not just our equipment, but our entire farm. I approached the back of the equipment shed with Max close beside me, both of us moving carefully in the dim moonlight. The smoke was definitely coming from this area, but I still couldn't pinpoint the exact source. The smell was stronger now, carrying the distinct odor of burning wood and something else I couldn't immediately identify. Max's nose continued working overtime, processing information that remained invisible to me. He led me around the corner of the building, where the source of the smoke finally became clear. A small pile of debris that had been stacked against the back wall was smoldering, sending thin streams of smoke into the night air. The pile consisted mainly of old lumber scraps and dried leaves that had accumulated over time. Someone, probably me, had carelessly left them too close to the building. What had caused them to ignite remained a mystery, but the immediate concern was preventing the fire from spreading. The flames were small but persistent, fed by the dry autumn debris. More concerning was their proximity to the shed's wooden siding. The building itself hadn't caught fire yet, but given enough time, the smoldering pile would almost certainly ignite the structure. I quickly assessed the situation. The fire was manageable in its current state, but it needed immediate attention. The nearest water source was the spigot on the side of the main barn, about 50 yards away. I would need to act quickly to prevent the situation from escalating. Max remained alert beside me, his job of detection complete, but his protective instincts still engaged. He seemed to understand the seriousness of what we'd discovered. His early warning had given us the precious time needed to address the problem before it became a true emergency. Without his intervention, I would have slept peacefully while disaster slowly developed outside my window. I ran back toward the main barn, Max keeping pace beside me as we raced to get water. Every second counted now. The fire was small, but I'd seen how quickly things could escalate on a farm. Dry conditions and wooden structures created the perfect environment for rapid fire spread. The garden hose was coiled neatly beside the barn's water spigot, exactly where I'd left it after washing equipment the previous afternoon. I grabbed the nozzle and began unrolling the hose as quickly as possible, grateful that I'd always been meticulous about maintaining my equipment. Max watched intently as I worked, his body language still tense with concern. He seemed to understand that we were in a race against time. Occasionally, he would look back toward the equipment shed, as if monitoring the situation we'd left behind. The hose reached its full length, just as I arrived back at the smoldering debris pile. The flames had grown slightly in the few minutes I'd been gone, but they were still manageable. I turned the nozzle to its highest pressure setting and began dousing the fire systematically. Steam rose as the water hit the burning material, creating a hissing sound that seemed unnaturally loud in the quiet night. The smell of wet ash replaced the acrid smoke, a welcome change that indicated our efforts were working. Max positioned himself where he could observe both me and the surrounding area, maintaining his protective vigilance. His behavior reminded me that farm dogs don't just work during daylight hours. Their commitment to protecting their territory operates around the clock. Within minutes, the last of the flames were extinguished. I continued spraying water over the entire area, ensuring that no hidden embers remained to reignite later. The immediate crisis was over, but questions remained about how the fire had started. With the fire completely extinguished, I began examining the debris pile more carefully, trying to understand what had caused it to ignite. Max sniffed around the wet ashes, his nose working to process the complex mixture of scents that remained. The pile had consisted mainly of lumber scraps left over from various farm projects, mixed with fallen leaves and other organic debris. Nothing in the collection should have been capable of spontaneous combustion, especially on a cool autumn night with relatively high humidity. I used a stick to carefully separate the wet ashes, looking for clues about the fire's origin. Deep in the center of the pile, I discovered the remains of what appeared to be an old oil-soaked rag. The fabric was mostly destroyed, but enough remained to suggest it had been the initial fuel source. The mystery deepened as I tried to remember when or why such a rag might have ended up in the debris pile. I was usually careful about disposing of oil-soaked materials properly, knowing the fire hazard they represented. Yet here was clear evidence that my safety protocols had somehow failed. Max continued his investigation, occasionally pausing to look at me as if trying to communicate his findings. His behavior suggested he'd detected scents that told a more complete story than my visual examination could reveal. As I pondered the situation, I realized how fortunate we'd been. The fire had started slowly, probably smoldering for hours before producing enough smoke for Max to detect. A faster burning material or windier conditions could have created a disaster that would have consumed not just the equipment shed, but potentially spread to other buildings or the nearby forest. The incident served as a stark reminder of how quickly things could go wrong on a farm, and how important it was to maintain constant vigilance about fire safety. As dawn began to break over the farm, I stood beside the wet ashes of what could have been a catastrophic fire, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude toward Max. His alertness and determination had prevented what might have been the loss of expensive equipment, or worse, a fire that could have spread beyond our property. I knelt down and wrapped my arms around his neck, feeling the warmth of his fur and the steady rhythm of his breathing. He accepted my embrace calmly, as if saving the farm was simply part of his daily responsibilities. In his mind, he'd probably done nothing more than alert me to something that needed attention. The morning light revealed the full extent of what we'd prevented. The equipment shed housed our newest tractor, worth more than $40,000, along with various implements and supplies that would have been expensive to replace. More importantly, the shed's location near the tree line meant a larger fire could have spread into the surrounding forest. Max had detected the danger hours before I would have noticed anything wrong. By the time I typically began my morning rounds, the fire could have grown beyond our ability to control it with simple farm equipment. We would have been looking at fire department involvement, insurance claims, and potentially devastating losses. I thought about all the times Max had accompanied me around the farm, learning the layout and developing his understanding of what belonged where. His familiarity with our property had enabled him to recognize when something was out of place, even in the middle of the night. Farm dogs earn their keep in many ways, but Max's contribution that night went far beyond the usual expectations. He demonstrated the kind of loyalty and protective instinct that makes the bond between humans and dogs so special. After securing the area and ensuring no risk of reignition remained, I decided Max deserved a special reward for his heroic actions. We walked back to the house together, the morning sun now painting the sky in soft shades of pink and gold. In the kitchen, I prepared Max's favorite breakfast, his regular kibble, mixed with scrambled eggs and a small piece of bacon. He watched with interest as I cooked, his tail wagging with anticipation. After the night's excitement, he'd certainly earned this special treat. As Max enjoyed his reward, I reflected on the events that had unfolded. The fire's origin remained somewhat mysterious, but the important thing was that we'd caught it in time. I made a mental note to be even more careful about debris disposal and to implement additional fire safety measures around the property. The incident had also highlighted the value of Max's presence on the farm. While I'd always appreciated his companionship and help with daily tasks, I'd never fully considered his role as an early warning system. His superior senses and constant vigilance provided a level of security that no electronic system could match. I called my insurance agent later that morning to report the incident and discuss additional fire prevention measures. The agent was impressed by the story of Max's alertness and suggested that farm dogs often serve as the first line of defense against various threats. Throughout the day, Max seemed to carry himself with a bit more pride than usual. Perhaps he sensed my increased appreciation for his contributions, or maybe he simply felt satisfied with a job well done. Either way, his behavior reminded me that working dogs find genuine fulfillment in protecting their territory and family. The bond between us had deepened through our shared experience of crisis and resolution. The fire incident prompted me to conduct a comprehensive review of fire safety practices across the entire farm. Over the following days, I walked the property with Max, examining potential hazards with fresh eyes and implementing improved safety protocols. I installed additional fire extinguishers in each building and created designated areas for debris disposal, well away from any structures. The old practice of temporarily stacking materials against building walls was permanently discontinued. Every oil-soaked rag or combustible material now went directly into proper disposal containers. Max seemed to understand that we were conducting important safety inspections. He followed attentively as I checked each building, occasionally sniffing areas that caught his interest. His behavior reminded me that his senses could detect problems I might miss during visual inspections. I also invested in a new smoke detection system for the equipment sheds, though I knew it would never match Max's ability to detect problems in their earliest stages. Electronic systems have their limitations, but a dog's nose operates continuously, processing thousands of scents and identifying anomalies that might indicate trouble. The local fire chief visited to inspect our new safety measures and was impressed by the improvements. He mentioned that rural fires often start small and go undetected until they've grown beyond easy control. Max's early detection had prevented exactly that scenario. During our conversation, the fire chief shared stories of other farm dogs who'd alerted their owners to various dangers. Apparently, Max's heroic behavior wasn't unique. Working dogs regularly demonstrate this kind of protective vigilance. However, that knowledge didn't diminish my appreciation for what he'd done. The new safety measures provided peace of mind, but I knew that Max remained our most reliable early warning system. His dedication to protecting our farm operated 24 hours a day without maintenance requirements or system failures. In the weeks following the fire incident, I noticed subtle changes in my relationship with Max. While we'd always been close, the shared experience of crisis had deepened our mutual understanding and trust. He seemed more attentive to my activities, and I found myself more aware of his communications. Max had always been an excellent farm dog, but now I recognized the full extent of his capabilities. His intelligence went beyond simple obedience training. He possessed an intuitive understanding of the farm's rhythms and potential threats that complemented my own knowledge and experience. During our daily rounds, I began paying closer attention to Max's behavior and reactions. When he paused to investigate something unusual, I stopped to examine it as well. This collaborative approach to farm management proved surprisingly effective, revealing several minor issues before they could develop into larger problems. The incident had also reinforced my appreciation for the rural lifestyle and the unique challenges it presents. City dwellers might rely on professional emergency services and neighbors for security, but farm life requires a different kind of self-reliance and vigilance. Max embodied the best qualities of a farm companion: loyalty, intelligence, and an unwavering commitment to protecting his territory. His actions that night had demonstrated that the bond between working dogs and their owners goes far beyond simple companionship. I began sharing the story with other farmers in the area, and many responded with similar tales of their own dogs' protective instincts. It seemed that Max's heroic behavior was part of a larger tradition of farm dogs, serving as guardians and early warning systems. The experience had taught me to never underestimate the value of that ancient partnership between humans and dogs, especially in rural settings where that bond can literally mean the difference between safety and disaster. As autumn progressed into winter, the fire incident became a defining moment in my understanding of farm safety and the invaluable role of working dogs. The lessons learned extended far beyond simple fire prevention to encompass a broader appreciation for the complex security challenges of rural life. I began researching the science behind dogs' superior sensory abilities, learning about their incredible capacity to detect scents at concentrations far below human perception thresholds. Max's ability to smell smoke before I could see flames wasn't just good luck. It was the result of evolutionary adaptations that make dogs natural early warning systems. The incident also prompted conversations with other farmers about their own experiences with working dogs. These discussions revealed a wealth of stories about dogs detecting everything from gas leaks to intruders to sick animals. The common thread was the dog's ability to perceive threats that their human partners might miss entirely. Max continued his daily farm duties with the same enthusiasm as always, but I noticed he paid particular attention to the area where the fire had occurred. During our evening walks, he would often pause near the equipment shed, sniffing carefully before moving on. His vigilance served as a constant reminder of the importance of staying alert to potential dangers. The experience had also reinforced my decision to live and work in a rural setting. While farm life presents unique challenges and risks, it also offers the opportunity to develop deep, meaningful relationships with working animals like Max. The bond we shared was built on mutual dependence and trust that would be difficult to replicate in an urban environment. Most importantly, the incident had taught me to trust Max's instincts completely. His protective nature and superior senses made him an invaluable partner in maintaining the safety and security of our farm. Today, several months after that memorable night, I continue to marvel at the bond Max and I share. The fire incident has become a story I tell to visitors and fellow farmers, illustrating the incredible value of working dogs and the importance of paying attention to their communications. Max remains as vigilant as ever, conducting his nightly patrols and maintaining his protective watch over our property. His dedication to farm security operates continuously, providing a level of protection that no technology could match. The peace of mind his presence provides is immeasurable. The new fire safety measures we implemented have become standard practice, but I know that Max remains our most reliable early detection system. His ability to sense problems before they become visible or obvious continues to amaze me, and I've learned to trust his judgment implicitly. The incident also strengthened my appreciation for the rural lifestyle and the unique rewards it offers. Living and working in harmony with animals like Max provides a connection to traditional ways of life that many people never experience. The mutual dependence and trust we share enriches both our lives in ways that go far beyond simple companionship. As I write this story, Max is sleeping peacefully beside my desk, occasionally opening one eye to check on my activities. His presence is a constant reminder of that night when his alertness and determination prevented what could have been a devastating fire. The experience taught me that heroes come in many forms, and sometimes the most important ones have 4 legs and wet noses. Max's actions that night exemplified the best qualities of working dogs: intelligence, loyalty, and an unwavering commitment to protecting those they love. Our partnership continues to evolve and deepen, built on mutual respect and the shared understanding that we're stronger together than either of us could be alone. Thank you so much for listening to this story about Max and our unforgettable night. The bond between humans and their loyal companions never ceases to amaze me, and I hope Max's heroic actions have touched your heart as much as they've impacted my life. I'd love to hear from you. Please write in the comments below and let me know what part of the world you're listening from. It's always fascinating to connect with people from different places who share a love for heartwarming stories. If you enjoyed this tale of loyalty and heroism, please consider subscribing to the channel for more true stories that celebrate the incredible bonds we share with our animal companions. Your support helps me continue sharing these meaningful experiences with fellow animal lovers around the world. Until next time, give your furry friends an extra hug. You never know when they might be the hero you need.